Hello, today I'm going to talk about the just universe idea. I'll explain what it is, why it can be a problem, include a real-life case study, and how to deal with arguments that employ this idea. Hopefully by the end of it, you too will be able to spot and deal with it. And if not, well, producing great content like this for everyone to enjoy is very noble and will therefore be rewarded. The universe will make sure of it, which is why it has created the like and subscribe buttons below. The just universe idea, also known as the just world idea, is a fallacious idea about the morality and actions of people. It also extends to the events and factors that influence the lives of people. Now, strictly speaking, this is not a type of fallacy in itself. The idea is a cognitive bias, but seeing as this idea is used in various examples of fallacious arguments, I have included it in the fallacy series. At the center of the idea is the notion that the universe is just. There is a reason behind every event in this just universe, so bad actions are punished and good actions are rewarded. And the universe, being just, ensures that these punishments and rewards happen. The idea pops up in religious and non-religious philosophies. In Western English-speaking cultures, for example, you might have heard the phrase, "What comes around, goes around," a phrase that captures this idea of justice in the world and the implication that there is a supernatural and eternal element to it. So why is it problematic? Well, for starters, this kind of idea is untestable. It is unfalsifiable. There is no scientific way of testing the claim, of verifying the link between an action and a reward or punishment, or that the reward or punishment is just. When considered on a philosophical level, it raises more issues. It implies that natural disasters and suffering in the world are all justified because the universe is just, and so these events are part of the natural justice of the universe. But it also leads to victim blaming by implying that victims of suffering in the world deserve it, or somehow had it coming as a punishment for something they previously did. Worse yet, it can put people off addressing the suffering of others, because if people think that this suffering is somehow just, then they may not want to stop it. Our sense of morality and justice is also very biased. It is human-centric. We might think it is good if a human has a pleasant life, but of course, a human would say that. From the perspective of the universe, does it really matter if a particular human has a pleasant life or not? Does the universe care? Does it even make sense to consider such concepts as good and bad when considering the scale and perspective of the universe? Is it arrogant to suggest that the universe somehow bends itself to ensure a particular human being on Earth is suitably punished or rewarded? Now, this all explains why it is a problem, but why is it seemingly so commonplace? Well, the advantage of living in a society that subscribes to this idea is that people can feel secure in their futures. They understand that bad behavior will be punished, and so something they don't need to worry too much about. So they can live productive lives, safe in the knowledge that everyone will be treated fairly. And I think this is why the idea still exists, because it has utility. Of course, it is also a mistake to say that if the universe is not just, then how can we have justice in our lives? Justice is an abstract concept created by humans to benefit, for the most part, humans. It does not need to exist. The universe will carry on regardless of whether this human concept of justice exists or not. And from the human perspective, justice can be maintained without invoking the supernatural or making untestable claims about the universe. It's just unnecessary. Let's look at a real case study involving this idea. Glenn Hoddle was a famous English footballer who in 1996 became the manager of the national team. In 1999, during an interview, he talked about his religious beliefs, including his belief in reincarnation. In the telephone interview with a sports journalist, Hoddle is alleged to have said the following: "My beliefs have evolved in the last 8 or 9 years that the spirit has to come back again. That is nothing new. That has been around for thousands of years. You have to come back to learn and face some of the things you have done, good and bad. There are too many injustices in the world. You and I have been physically given 2 hands, 2 legs, and half-decent brains. Some people have not been born like that for a reason. The karma is working from another lifetime. I have nothing to hide about that. It's not only people with disabilities. What you sow, you have to reap. You have to look at things that happened in your life and ask why. It comes around. Hoddle's clumsy attempt at expressing his personal religious views ultimately led to him losing his job. Many people thought Hoddle genuinely believed that disabled people were paying the price for previous sins. The claim that there is a reason for people being born without 2 hands, 2 legs, and half-decent brains, and that this is because of some inherent universal justice, or, as Hoddle put it, karma working from another lifetime. This is the clue that points to the just universe idea. The problems I listed earlier become apparent here. There is no way to test the claim that a person today is disabled because of karma working from another lifetime. No way to know if the punishment is a just one. There is a clear bias in the suggestion that disability is even a punishment. And finally, there is the uncomfortable implication that a disabled person somehow deserves their disability. This is what I mean when I say that the just universe idea leads to victim blaming, in this case, disabled people. So how should you deal with an argument that uses the idea of a just universe? Well, first deal with the untestable element. Explain how it is unfalsifiable and why that is a problem. Consider whether the untestable element is even required. Can you improve the argument by removing it? Second, consider the implications of the argument. As I mentioned earlier, this argument often leads to victim blaming. Finally, is there a better argument? One that creates similar outcomes but doesn't have untestable claims or unpalatable implications. If you like this content, show your support by subscribing to the channel.